Hello again, everyone. Well, over the last little while, I've been scrambling through my head, and over the last few days, during my free time, have been jotting down some ideas I have if I were to ever be elected the Prime Minister of Canada. Why? Because, well, there's a good phrase out there that, is if you think you can do better, prove it, or show it, or put your money where your mouth is. Or just simply, as a Canadian citizen, some ideas I have that I think could potentially be better. So here we go. Bear with me, this is going to be a long video. Hang on a second, folks. Before I get you back to your video, in order to watch the rest, you're going to have to click that subscribe button and hit the like button for me so YouTube can continue to push my content out to the masses. Thank you. Now back to your video. So, my first policy would be to enact legislation that requires all federal electoral candidates to be born and raised in Canada and to have lived in Canada for at least the last 5 years. This one sprouted from the current Prime Minister, who has not lived in Canada for the last 10 years, and all of a sudden comes in and thinks he can lead the country. Number 2, dissolve any registered party that has not won or maintained official party status with the minimum 12 House of Commons seats through 2 consecutive election cycles. This means that if you have not obtained 12 seats over the last 8 years, or haven't held at least those 12 seats over the last 8 years, I'm sorry, but we need space for the successful parties. And this too does include the NDP, who, as we all know, in the last election lost their official party status. It's fair, it can be for any party that is registered in Canada. It could be any of the main 4 or 5 that have been the focus of Canada's political spectrum for the last however long. Doesn't matter who, doesn't matter what side. Third one here, develop Canada's own Department of Government Efficiency to cut out wasteful spending and redirect foreign aid to domestic operations. This department will operate through the entire 4-year term. Number 4, rezone electoral districts to better represent Canadian provinces and territories and allow the West to have a stronger voice in Parliament. For those of you who are currently unaware, the majority of Canada's electoral seats are held through Ontario, Quebec, and the rest of Eastern Canada, while the West gets left behind. Next one, open up Canada's energy sector and allow pipelines to be built and flow from Alberta to the rest of Canada and parts of the northeastern USA, since Quebec doesn't want them, so we'll build around Quebec. And move on with the rest of Eastern Canada, and guess what? Our biggest ally, the US, gets a little bit of benefit out of it. Shut down immigration completely for 5 years. It's not a racist policy. This is just to allow for our infrastructure to catch up and allow for current construction to be completed. I'm not saying to get rid of immigration completely. I'm not saying that. Just put a 5-year freeze on it to allow Canada to catch up, to heal, and to be more prepared and in a more stable economic environment to allow for people to move to this country. I would relocate the capital and parliament to Brandon, Manitoba, to allow for the capital to be more geographically centered in Canada and eliminate the notion of Eastern favoritism. I would deport and return all illegal immigrants to their home country on a basic flight at government expense. This includes anyone in the country on illegitimate visas and no documents providing legal status in Canada. Some of you are going to think this racist. It's not. I'm not saying get rid of all immigrants. I'm saying just the ones who are here illegally and illegitimately. The ones who have paperwork and documentation and are contributing to our society, you're fine. You get to stay. Next, redistribute all money collected through unnecessary taxes over the last decade, and return it to Canadian citizens at the capped amount of $2,000 per month per legal voting age citizen, and this will have a 2-year limit. It does not replace employment income, but merely is an additional surplus. I would arrest all politicians who have violated the Charter of Rights and Freedoms and lift the publication ban on their trials. This means that all Canadians would be allowed to see through mainstream media, through online streaming, their entire trial and their sentencing. It is a format and form of transparency for the citizens that they deserve. I would disqualify all MPs and senators who have ties to the World Economic Forum and the Chinese Communist Party. I would investigate all election interference and eliminate all foreign and domestic threats to election integrity. I would install live feed cameras in all vote counting offices and have them be publicly available. This allows the public to see exactly what's happening inside our voting centers, our polling centers, and this also adds to the accountability factor and make sure that there is no fraudulent elections. I would mandate criminal punishment for tampering with electoral ballots and results. Remember what happened in Pierre Poilievre's riding where they loaded the ballot with 91 candidates and somehow after 20 years holding a seat he lost? It's a little fishy to me. I would encourage every province to have individual sovereignty and rights to enforce laws as best deemed fit by their premiers. This has been a big debate in Alberta and in Saskatchewan to have their own sovereignty. Danielle Smith wants sovereignty within a united Canada. I believe all provinces should have it so we can stop the abuse coming from the federal government. I would introduce and enact legislation that allows for lawful ownership and open carry of one personal firearm per citizen. This comes with mandated mental health checks, firearms usage instruction and testing, plus registration and licensing for the firearm. I would increase border security and more strict entry requirements for countries outside of North America. I would defund and remove all legislation and enacting the development of 15-minute cities. This is not something we actually need. It is a factor of control by globalists. It's nothing that actually needs to happen. They're selling it to you as convenience. It has nothing to do with convenience whatsoever. Any income support, welfare, and disability payments will require proof of necessity by any means necessary. This means going through your doctor, making sure you can prove that you have a disability. Obviously, there's some where it's completely obvious if you're in a wheelchair and can't move, and you're paralyzed in any way, that's obvious. But there are some that are a little bit more uncommon to the naked eye that would require doctor's note and prescription. I would eliminate income tax for all Canadian citizens and increase sales tax by 1% to counteract the removal of that income tax. Remove all woke ideologies from federal legislation and eliminate DEI policies. DEI actually stands for didn't earn it. It is not the whole diversity, equity, inclusion bullshit. It's not even necessary. Hire people based off of merit. Allow people to enter this country based off of merit. No more quotas on how many of each race, gender, whatever you have to have in your company. Get rid of all that. You want success, hire based on qualification. I would introduce rent control and a cap on rental property rates based on square footage. There are many property managers and landlords who are charging based off of greed and wanting to actually pocket more money for themselves. This is just plainly criminal and fraud. We need more affordable rent for those who cannot afford to buy a home or cannot be approved for a mortgage. More on that coming later. Entertainment venues will be given a restriction on food and beverage pricing. Do you know right now in Toronto, or at least as of the last time I was there, for one alcoholic beverage, it's $15 for one. That's not for three, that's not for two, it's for one. And the food prices are out of control. This needs to stop. It's just price gouging. There would be a cap on fuel pricing at $1 a liter, only to be raised to a max of $1.20 a liter in the event of a real emergency, such as a natural disaster. Pharmaceutical companies will be imposed with $250,000 annual fines, which will be equally distributed to victims who have suffered irreversible damage to their health for the course of 10 years. Gender dysphoria will be treated with a max of 3 therapy sessions covered under healthcare, and no surgeries related to gender transition will be covered by Canadian taxpayer-funded healthcare. You will have to pay out of pocket for those procedures. Only 2 genders will be legally recognized in Canada, male and female. Hey everyone, just a reminder that this video is brought to you by NordVPN. Hit the link in the description of my video to get yourself 3 months free on me. Back to your video. All employers legally registered in Canada are required to hire based on merit only, and there will be no termination of employment as a result of an employee exercising their right to express themselves freely. Businesses refusing to comply with these measures will be permanently shut down, and any employees wrongfully terminated on those terms will be awarded 3 months' salary. We will expand partnerships for trade and other business with the United States of America to allow both Canadian and American citizens to work and live in either country without the need for visa sponsorship. Only a criminal background check and standard passport will be deemed necessary. We will cut all ties with the British royal family and remove ourselves from the British Commonwealth. It's time for Canada to be truly sovereign and independent. The notwithstanding clause will be removed as an amendment to the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. This is the clause that gives the federal government endless power over your rights and freedoms. It's unnecessary. We want to give this country back to you, the people. We will eliminate credit scores and make it more difficult for financial institutions to have a say in your purchasing power. This country's almost $1 trillion in debt, but you're going to give Canadian citizens a credit score based off of their debt managing skills? It's a Ponzi scheme. MP salaries will be reduced from $203,100 to a flat $200,000. The extra $3,100 from each MP salary will be put towards the national debt in an attempt to pay it down. This equates to $1.06 million annually, approximately. The Prime Minister's salary will be reduced from $406,200 to $350,000, and the additional $56,200 will also be paid towards Canada's national debt, which will bring the total annual debt payment to $1,119,200, paid annually. Canada's federal leaders will no longer be given taxpayer-funded accommodations in the capital and will pay for their housing out of their own salary. This includes the Prime Minister. All parliamentarians will be mandated to answer questions from all media outlets. So right now, they seem to get to pick and choose to answer questions from, CBC, CTV, City News, all the state-funded broadcasters. They will be mandated to also answer questions from independent journalists like Kean Bexty and the Counter Signal, Rebel News, all of the other ones, the Western Standard out here in the West, not just the state-funded ones that go along with the agenda. Any bill to be presented on the floor of the House of Commons will be available for public review on the House of Commons website 48 hours previous to presentation. Education curriculums will be provincially regulated with minimal guidance from the Federal Department of Education. That being said, Educational curriculums that include any woke ideologies will have their funding cut by 50%. Any defacing of statues, Canadian or provincial flags, including burning of these flags, will be punishable by 10 years in federal prison without parole, under the charge of treason. No more burning flags. We've seen it around here, and it seems like all of the people that are not born here are getting away with this. Growing up, I was always told to respect the flag. Burning it, defacing it, tearing down statues of historical icons. Disrespectful and treasonous. It's actually a law. Go look it up. We will increase our national defense spending to 5% within 1 year, with a 0.5% increase annually. That's already more than the current federal government is doing. The national anthem will be restored to its original lyrics, "All thy sons command." We will remove all transgender members from our military to promote strength over diversity. We need a strong, front-facing military. We don't need the diversity bullshit of it. We need a strong military that is not laughed at on the world stage and can be up to par with the US. We will execute a national pardon for all those arrested during the Freedom Convoy of 2022 and have all charges dropped, while opening an investigation into the arresting officers who will be subject to punishment. We will increase wages for all first responders and healthcare workers. We will expand healthcare coverage to include dental and chiropractic treatment. We will increase CPP payments for seniors with disabilities or health conditions and reduce the taxable income threshold for all seniors. All senators will no longer be appointed by the Prime Minister. Instead, they will be voted on by parliamentarians. Municipalities will be given 2 opportunities annually to present a pitch to their local MPs on why they should receive either a government grant or increased funding for a 3-year period based on resources they feel they require in their community, as this encourages equal and proper representation of the Canadian people. All Indigenous reservations will have access to clean water and necessary resources. Funding to reservations will be under stricter scrutiny as to make sure funding is equally distributed among the people. A lot of times, we've heard it out here in Alberta, we've heard it across the country, seems to be the chiefs that pocket the majority of the money, and the rest of the people on the reserves are getting the bare minimum. That's not fair either. Post-secondary education will no longer be free or taxpayer funded for Indigenous people. This time, if you want a post-secondary education, you'd be put in the same situation as the rest of us. A lot of us go into debt. You got to do it too. Indigenous people will no longer be given tax-funded housing or tax-exempt fuel. You can pay your fair share like the rest of us. Married couples will be given a $1,000 a month tax-free incentive for each child they create or adopt. For the adoption, it's children under the age of 12. Legalized travel bans on the following countries: Afghanistan, China, Iraq, Sudan, Somalia, North Korea, Cuba, United Arab Emirates, England, Ghana, Chinese Taipei, Thailand, Bangladesh, Ukraine, and all territories of Palestine. We will introduce the death penalty for eligible crimes: human trafficking, child trafficking, assault and sexual assault of a minor, indecent exposure in the presence of minors, murder, assault with a deadly weapon, attempted murder. We will redefine life sentences to actually mean life, not 25 years. Parole eligibility will be determined based on the severity of the crime committed. Kneeling for the national anthem will be punishable by law and will come with a minimum sentence of 1 year in prison. We will introduce term limits for prime ministers. A prime minister may serve a maximum of 3 consecutive terms before having to step down and be replaced. They may keep their MP seat and candidacy. However, a new party leader must be elected for the next electoral cycle. The legal voting age for all levels of government will be raised to 21, as will the legal age of alcohol consumption. The legal age to acquire a driver's license will also be raised to 18. The last two I had on my list there have to do with maturity and life experience. When you're 16, you don't nearly have enough maturity to get behind the wheel of a car and understand the seriousness of what can happen while driving. Something as simple as if you lose your focus or you're not paying attention, and something bad could happen, and it could ruin the rest of your life as well. And aside from that, drinking age is one where it has been a provincial thing for a while. However, I believe this should be federally mandated, just because I've seen through my own eyes a few stupid things happen for people who are under the age of 21. And same thing for voting age. You need a little bit more life experience, whether you go through trade school out of high school or whether you go through college or university. You have a little bit more education. You have a little bit more behind you by the time you hit 21 or 22. So you need a little bit more of that, a little bit more common sense instilled into you before you're able to vote on who gets into power. These are, of course, just all my perspectives. Let me know what you think in the comments below. See you later.
I will try to fix you.